couple episodes, and I said, well, I've seen the first 6. And I said, do I want to watch ahead of time? Can I watch the whole? They're like, just watch up to 12, because we're going to record the first 6 and then another batch, but you can watch up to 12. So I was like, okay, prepped for it, was ready for my first session, so excited, watched all the way to 12, showed up for my session, something happens in 12, I don't want to spoil it, it's been out for a while, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Something happens in 12, it was very depressing for me. I was trying to watch more uplifting television before I went in for my session because I was so depressed. So I watched Joan of Arcadia, which is my favorite show. It never lets me down. And then there's one thing that happens in that show where a certain someone of the male variety makes a really poor choice. And it was like the most depressing part of the season. And that's the episode that I happened to be watching that day. And so I was like, this is just not my day. I watched one more movie that I was like, well, this won't let me down. I didn't look what it was. I put it into the DVD player. And it was like a horrible, depressing movie where the main character dies in the first 30 minutes. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. So my first session for Asuna was really hard because I walked in there and I was just like in a dark cloud of everything in entertainment wants to make me cry today. And so I went in to record and they were like, are you okay? I was like, I'm just so depressed. And I explained the whole situation. They were like, well, it'll be fun. So then I kind of just lost myself in the anime, forgot about what I knew. And that's one of the things that's so magical about my job is when I can step into another character and live in their world, I don't have to deal with my depressing situation. And it was great, because when she had a dark moment, I was like, oh, don't worry, I've got some sadness stocked up. I'll just pull some of it out for her today, thanks to what I've watched. I think in the duration of the anime, it's hard to pick one line, but in the first season, I really loved all of the stuff with Yui and the cabin, and there's a cabin scene that Bryce and I did, which was really fun. The director said he wanted it to feel more like a movie. He wanted Sword Art to feel more like a movie, so he wanted our intensity to be really intense, but really small because we were so close together. And Bryce had recorded before me. And it just felt like we were both in the room at the same time working together, and it's one of those things where you're like, man, this is magical. When the directors got it and the voice actors are playing off of each other, and Bryce gave me such an amazing performance, all I had to do was just react off of him and say the lines, and it was so cool how that worked. And actually working with Erica on the Mother's Rosario arc in season 2 was so hard for me. I had lost my great aunt, and so I hadn't fully grieved from that process, and I didn't realize I hadn't fully grieved until I'm doing these scenes and doing this episode. And so it really helped me grow as a person and get through some of that stuff. And so that was a really important arc, and I loved working on it.
Speaking of which,
there it is. Yes, indeed.
For 90
So
bucks
cool.
on the right stuff.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
What was the most awkward experience you had with a fan?
The most awkward experience I had with a fan. I don't know. It wasn't a fan, but it was sort of an awkward experience, and I was probably the one who made it awkward. I was at an anime store, and I had just been cast in Strike Witches, and the director said, this anime store has a ton of Strike Witches stuff. And I was like, cool, I want to go get some. He was like, the show has not been announced yet, so you cannot tell anybody. If anybody finds out that you're playing Yoshika, you're in serious trouble and you could lose the role. And I was like, don't worry, no one will find out. So I go into this anime store, I'm like taking all this Strike Witches stuff, like throwing it on the counter. And she was like, oh, you like Strike Witches? I was like, yeah, it's such a fun show. And she was like, yeah, that's so crazy. I guess Yoshika is your favorite. I was like, she is. She's a cool character. And I didn't realize, I forgot, and this happened a lot in school too. I had an engineer that made a song as my ringtone that was Baby Cherami, Pick Up Your Phone. And he sings it. So my phone rings when I'm in there. Baby Cherami, pick up your phone. Like 6 times.
I remember that.
And I was like, oh my God. And she looks at me and we both stopped in a moment. She's like, Cherami, Cherami Leigh, like from Funimation, and I was like, gotta go buy, and I just like ran out of the store, got in my car, and like sped off. I was like, I'm not losing this job. But there's like 8 items of Yoshika on the table, and so I didn't think like you could have just been like, just don't say anything. But like, I'm an awkward human being, and I was just like, if you don't buy it, no one has to know. But it probably made it worse that she's like, I think Cherami's playing this character because she just like put all the stuff on the table and then ran. So now my phone lives on silent. Because I don't know how to handle things like that. But that was probably the most awkward encounter, and she wasn't even really a fan. She was just somebody in the industry, and I made it more awkward than it needed to be. So that was interesting.
Wow.
Any other questions? Yes.
When it comes to preparation, whether it be for an audition or, just getting ready to get some character, what do you normally do, or what do you suggest for actors in general?
Good question. And this sounds so silly, but when I have an audition, especially if it's one that's like very different from me, I usually like characters that are really descriptive. Like I had one character and they said she was like, she was a teacher and she was supposed to be like 24, but she looked like she was like 15. So the whole series she was supposed to be mistaken for a student, but she wanted everyone to respect her. And so they described her as like a Reese Witherspoon from Election or a Kristen Chenoweth from really anything Kristen Chenoweth has been in. And so they were like, she dresses really quirky, she like has, so I got really excited and I was like, well, how do I get into the character? I'd run the lines, I kind of knew the performance I wanted to do, but what really made that character for me was getting dressed that morning and figuring out what kind of music I thought she'd listen to. So I'm going through my closet, I'm like, oh, this sunglasses sweater is cool. I'm gonna pair it with this skirt that makes no sense that I would never wear. But it was like so exciting to get dressed through the eyes of that character that I knew when I walked into the room, I'm like, this is my definition of her. I am her head to toe, and then I'll pick songs if I know I have to I had to do a really emotional scene for a film, and so I made a playlist on my iPod of songs that she would listen to, that I thought she would listen to, and just sat there, listened to that the whole time, and then when they said action, I would take my headphones out and like lose the iPod. So that way I was living in the headspace of that character. So I guess like clothing, makeup, music, that stuff really informs me just feeling confident in the character, because I think the worst part of an audition, you can do all the work and feel great about your scene and be a super amazing actor and ready to give the best performance, but as soon as you walk into that waiting room and you see the other girls that are there, you start going, oh, I guess that could be a way the character's played. I could see how that look would work. And you could have walked in going, this is mine. Like, I've read the script, I know this is me, I know everything about it, but if I have dressed the character, I've played the music for the character, it's harder for me to allow someone else to permeate my headspace and break down my confidence, so I can walk in the room and just do the best audition I can. So that definitely helps. I also usually try to do some sort of meditation or breathing exercise where I just like take a deep breath and release everything and kind of just like say to the universe, like, if I get this, thank you, I'm ready to accept the parts that are right for me, and I release the ones that aren't. I'm not going to allow it to like beat me up, because for so many years, and I still do it sometimes if it's a role that I really love, it's so hard to let it